Well, hi again. I just got to ask a question. Do we have to live what our horoscope says we have to live? And I have to say, yeah, I think we do. Because when we look at horoscopes, we see things, and then we see them come to pass. It's hard to say that we're not going to. We can look at somebody like Bill Gates and see an enormous wealth because of the fact he has planet configurations that suggest that. We can look at John Lennon and say, yes, the Beatles had to be famous because he had the configurations and the timing was perfect when the Beatles hit back when. Planets dictate, and we have to follow that dictation. Do you remember when we talk about the stop sign? A lot of guys I write back and forth with on a thing. I keep saying, what does a stop sign do? How does it work? All right? The stop sign doesn't work, but we still obey that. And yet, in obeying that, we have to ask, is the sign making us obey, or are we deciding up here that maybe obeying is for our best interest? When we obey a sign, and we decide to, remember, no. Okay, when we obey a sign and we see the sign up there, it doesn't say that stop or die. It says stop or else you might die. We can run it. We can do the Jupiter thing. We can say that, we can say, no, I'm just going to free spirit that. I'm just going to go right on through that sign. No consequences whatsoever. However, if a car is coming the opposite direction and decides to smack you, guess what? That free spirit has just been unbridled, hasn't it? A lot of times we'll see this in the chart. We'll notice that in the horoscope, that this is how that works. Paris Hilton was born with these two things together. She has the Saturn and the Jupiter, and she's lived the life of Jupiter in the night side, the Pisces side, where anything goes, free spirit, have fun, always go out at night and do what you need to do and not worry about any consequence. That's this without any control. This in control is a whole brand new story. Saturn controls. It locks you down. It holds you up. Paris Hilton was born with these two configurations in the chart right next to one another. They were what we call conjoined. And in this conjunction, this has to learn to balance. But as a youth, she's going to do the exuberant fire side first. She's going to go for it. She's going to go for the fire side of Jupiter. And she's going to have a hell of a good time while she's doing it. No consequence. But this thing in the background will always come up. And as she started more and more playing around the way she was doing, somewhere down the line, Saturn had to come in and go, no. And that's exactly what happened with her. Did she have to do that? No, she could have been this all her life. But for some reason, she chose that and went with this. So, do we have to follow our astrology charts? I think we do. I don't think there's a choice. As an astrologer, I have seen this time and time again, where when we see something in a chart, we note that this will happen. And when it does, the client comes back and goes, wow, that happened. Should I invest my $1 million over here and buy this stock and bond? Will I get my money back? Oh, yeah. And it comes back. When it comes back, I put my $1 million in, I got 20 back. Now we got some good Jupiter happening, I bought 3 cows and 2 bulls. And guess what? A few years later, I got a lot more cattle than I started with. See, this is the good stuff. But if you do it wrong, I bought 3 cows and 2 bulls, but I never fed them. You don't have them any longer. They just sort of died off. So it's that stop sign thing. Do you have to stop? No, you don't have to stop. But it's best you follow the designs that the signs foretell, because that's what it's about. I think, yes, we have to live our charts, because every chart I've seen, I can generally recognize the person I'm looking at and say, oh, I see, because that's who it is. When we look at the chart tells us what we're looking for. And that in its own right tells me that, yes, we live by how the planets dictate. They're like angels. They're little gods, angels coming down saying, this is how it's done, folks. This is how you're going to do it.